So hello out there to the church and to whoever else is tuning in. Just wanting to be a source of encouragement to you as we kind of deal with this whole coronavirus thing and not being able to get together as often as the church. Wanted to just make an effort to provide some shepherding for your soul and your heart towards your God. So this morning, I was in Matthew chapter 10 and was just encouraged by Jesus' words to his disciples as they were being sent from city to city to go talk about Jesus and his coming. He had some encouragement for them. Encouragement for them in the midst of a time that was going to be really scary, life-threatening. And I think just long term, there's encouragement there for the whole church as he looks forward at what's going to be coming for the church and encourages his people to be unafraid and just gives them some reasons why they can continue to trust in the Lord. So just a little bit of background, verse 16, he says, Matthew chapter 10, "Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." And that's maybe just a summary verse for the environment that ministry was going to be taking place in, right? They were hostile towards God's people, hostile towards Jesus and this message about him. But nonetheless, he had ministry for them to do. He wanted for them to step into people's lives and teach and preach and pray and heal, even though it meant risk of life for them. And I'm just thinking about the church and myself and wanting to just continue to be looking outward and thinking about people and how we might be a blessing to them, how we might minister to them, even though there's this thing floating around that gives cause for us to be afraid. We don't respond to life out of fear as believers. At least we're called not to. But we respond out of the love of God in us for people, out of just a confidence in the power of God towards us over sickness and over death. And we respond with just hearts that remember who Jesus is and what he's called us to. This is just a reminder for me that he's called us to be the church to the world, to be a picture of Jesus to the world, even when there's scary stuff happening. So they're in this scary situation, right? There's going to be persecution. There's going to be trials pending, whether or not they live or die. There's going to be a need to trust the Lord for their finances and for their health. In verse 26, he says, "Therefore, do not fear. Do not fear them, the ones who want to kill you, the ones who look down on you." Right? I would say do not fear coronavirus. It's not bigger than God. It's not outside of his ability to protect you and people you love from. He says there's nothing covered that will not be revealed or hidden that will not be made known. He's talking about the fact that there was going to be people who had false motives, who were out to get them. There's all these plots, right, that were against them. And he's saying, look, even if the world's against you, even if there's this guy over here who's lying, cheating, and stealing in order to make sure you go down, you can rest in the fact that I've got you, right? Nothing's happening I don't know about. Nothing's going on that affects my ability to take care of you. And that's still true today for us. There's comfort in the fact that God knows everything and still is in control, still has sort of the final say on the day that our life ends or the day that it continues, even though there might be threat to it. Verse 27, he says, "Whatever I tell you in the dark, speak in the light. What you hear in the ear, preach on the housetops, and do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul." Whether we're talking about people or we're talking about illness, God has for us to live in a way that's unafraid, really, of physical death, because we know that our soul and our future body, right, are guaranteed in Christ. Through faith in Him, we have certain hope of what's to come. And so we can live this life continuing to move forward in the things He has for us, loving people, caring for people, even though it sometimes is going to present physical risk for us. But He says, rather, right, fear Him who's able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Keep God in focus. Keep Him the one that you are responding to and living for, as opposed to living in response to fear. And then he ends with this encouragement, and this is sort of what I wanted to end with for you guys. It's something that God encouraged me with this morning. It's just a reminder of one of the reasons why we can rest and have peace even when the world outside is scary. He says in verse 29, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a copper coin? Not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Do not fear, therefore. You are of more value than many sparrows." And the point that Jesus is making is look, if God cares and knows so intimately what's going on in the world, that not even a sparrow, right? In our minds here, and I would think it'd be like the equivalent of a mouse, something that was not of great value, not of great consequence in the culture of the Israelites, like the cheapest thing you can buy, right? If that is valuable enough to God that it would never die, apart from it being the day that God has planned for that bird to die. If nothing so small as a sparrow dies apart from God's hand saying so, then how much more comfort, how much more confidence can we have that our life is going to exist for as long as God has for it to? We can, in spite of coronavirus, in spite of people who want to kill us, in spite of whatever's going on, we can have peace, right? We can live and continue to live for the Lord, unafraid, knowing that He's going to keep us alive. No matter what the threat is, He's going to keep us alive for exactly as many days as He has work for us to do down here on planet Earth. There's a lot of comfort in that. There's a lot of comfort in that for me as I think about older people, maybe more at risk of dying from something like coronavirus than I might be. There's comfort for me in knowing that my parents, my in-laws, and other people in this church and around that I know and love and care about, I can rest in the knowledge that God has their days numbered for them before they were ever born. That there's not a hair of their heads that He hasn't numbered. He knows exactly what's going on with them and around them. And in spite of all of that, there's an absolute certainty that they're going to live until the day that He has, before they were ever here, planned for them. God has work for us to do as the church. He has worship for us to give to Him. He has life of Jesus in us for us to display to the world. There's people for us to encourage and people for us to love. And I would just encourage you not to let fear and coronavirus absorb all of your thought time, all of your emotional energy. I'd encourage you to just keep directing your heart back to your God and to let that fuel in you and push you towards people that He has for you to love on. I don't know what that means for you, but I know that God has for us to not be living in fear and to just be walking still, right, in the joy of the Lord, bringing the love of Christ into view for the people that we live around. So I just encourage you in that way, and just to say to keep praying right? Keep digging in to the Word. God uses trials, uses scary times to open people's hearts, and it would be a good time for us as the church to be praying that God would use something that's not good, right? That He would use it anyways, like He does, to just draw people's hearts towards Jesus, to help them see their need for Him. And so I'm praying for that with you guys as the church. And you can keep tuning in. Probably every couple days I'll put some encouragement up on our website, and we'll get a Sunday morning message up as well so that you guys can tune into that as we kind of postpone gathering together as a church here for a little while until the potential threat of coronavirus spread sort of dies down. So love you guys. We'll talk to you later.